Imagine you are drowning. Your lungs are burning, you are desperate for oxygen. You try to take a breath, but you can't. The water is filling your chest. Now, imagine there is no water. You are 10 feet in the air. The sun is burning your skin, and you have been dying for 3 days. Most of what you think you know about crucifixion is wrong. Hollywood shows you the blood, it shows you the nails, but it almost never shows you the time. The Romans didn't just want to kill you. If they wanted you dead, they had swords, they had spears. They could end it in a second. No, crucifixion was not an execution. It was a masterpiece of biological engineering designed to keep a human being right on the edge of death for as long as possible. Today, we are going to break down the medical reality of the cross. We are going to look at the anatomy, the physics, and the terrifying life hack the Romans invented to ensure that death didn't come in hours, but in days. Buckle up, this is going to hurt. To understand the punishment, you have to understand the punisher. The Romans were the greatest engineers in history. They built aqueducts that still run today. They built roads that spanned continents, and they applied that same engineering genius to torture. You see, for Rome, crucifixion was a billboard. When Spartacus led a slave revolt against Rome, the Romans didn't just kill the 6,000 survivors. They crucified them along the Appian Way, a human corridor of agony stretching for 120 miles. Why? Because Rome ruled by fear. They needed a punishment that stripped the man of everything: his clothes, his dignity, his ability to control his own bodily functions. They wanted the victim to scream until they couldn't scream anymore, and then just gasp. But here's the first secret you need to know. The torture didn't start at the cross. It started with the pregame, the scourging. This is a flagrum. It wasn't just a leather whip, it was weighted with lead balls and sheep bones. When this hit a prisoner's back, it didn't just cut the skin. The lead balls caused deep bruising, what doctors call contusions. The sheep bones cut into the subcutaneous tissue and the muscle. As the lashing continued, the skin on the back would be shredded to ribbons. The muscles of the lower back would be torn open. By the time the victim is dragged to their feet, they are already in a state of hypovolemic shock. This is crucial. This is step 1 of the dying process.
My heart pounding. So thirsty. Water.
The victim has lost so much blood that the heart starts racing to pump what little is left. Blood pressure drops, the kidneys stop working to preserve fluid. The victim feels an unquenchable, burning thirst. Does that sound familiar? I thirst. But the Romans, they were just getting started.
Look at this painting. What do you see? The nail goes through the palm of the hand. This is the most common image in history, and scientifically, it is impossible. Early in the 20th century, a French surgeon named Dr. Pierre Barbet decided to test this. He took cadavers, dead bodies, and nailed them through the palms. Then he applied the weight of a human body. What happened? The flesh ripped, the nail tore right through the fingers, the body fell to the ground. The palm is just soft tissue and small bones. It cannot support 170 pounds of dead weight. The Romans knew this. They were practical men. So where did the nail go? It went here, the wrist, specifically through a gap between the carpal bones. The wrist has a strong band of ligaments. If you drive a nail through here, the ligament holds. It creates a hook. The body hangs securely. But there is a terrible side effect to this placement, a side effect that creates a kind of pain we don't even have a word for. Right in that gap runs the median nerve. This is a major nerve. It's the one that gives you feeling in your thumb and fingers. Imagine hitting your funny bone. You know that electric shock sensation? That happens when you bump the ulnar nerve. Now imagine taking a thick, square iron spike and crushing that nerve against the bone. It's not an ache, it is a constant screaming lightning bolt of fire shooting up your arm and exploding in your brain every single second. The damage to the nerve would cause the thumb to spasm and curl inward into the palm, a permanent frozen claw. So you have a man, his back shredded to raw meat, hanging by his wrists with liquid fire pouring through his arms. And you might be thinking, okay, surely the blood loss kills him now. No, we haven't even mentioned the feet. This is where the engineering gets truly dark. The feet were nailed to the wood, usually with one single spike driven through both metatarsals. Why nail the feet? Was it just to keep them on the cross? No, the feet were nailed to provide a pivot point. And this brings us to the actual cause of death. It's not the blood loss, it's not the pain, it is asphyxiation. Let's talk about how you breathe. When you inhale, your diaphragm moves down, your chest expands, air rushes in. Easy. When you exhale, your diaphragm relaxes and the air is pushed out. Passive. Easy. But when you are hanging by your arms in a Y position, the weight of your body pulls the ribcage upward and locks it into a permanent state of inhalation. Your lungs are full of air, but you can't get it out. To exhale, to breathe out, you have to actively lift your body weight up to unlock your ribcage. You have to push down. Think about that. To take a single breath, the victim has to push down on the nail pierced through their feet. They have to pull up with the wrists that are screaming with nerve pain, and they have to scrape their shredded back against the rough wood of the cross. So here is the cycle, the crucifixion loop. You hang down, you are suffocating, carbon dioxide is building up in your blood, hypercapnia. Your muscles start to cramp. Panic sets in. You need air. You push up on the nails. The pain is blinding. The back scrapes the wood. You exhale. You take a sip of oxygen. The pain in the feet and wrists is too much to sustain. You collapse back down. You start suffocating again. Up, down, scream, gasp, scream, gasp. A healthy male could do this for days. Imagine doing a pull-up. Now imagine doing a pull-up every time you need to breathe for 24 hours straight. The lactic acid builds up in the muscles. The cramps turn into tetanic contractions, where the muscles lock solid like rock. Your body is fighting a war against itself. To breathe is to suffer. To rest is to die. You're probably wondering, if it's that hard to breathe, why didn't they die in an hour? Why did history record crucifixions lasting 3 or 4 days? The answer is this little block of wood. This is the sedile. It translates roughly to little seat. Sometimes it was a small peg between the legs, sometimes a small block to sit on. It looks like mercy, doesn't it? A chance to rest your weight? It was not mercy. The sedile was designed to prevent you from dying too fast. If you hang fully, you suffocate in minutes. If you have a seat, you can support your weight. You don't have to push on the nails as hard. You can breathe just enough to stay alive. The Romans added this specifically to extend the show. They wanted the victim to survive the night. They wanted the predators to come. Because you aren't alone up there. You are immobile, you are covered in blood and sweat. The insects come first, flies laying eggs in the open wounds of the back. Then the birds. Crows and vultures are opportunists. They go for the soft tissue first, the eyes, the tongue. And the victim, sitting on their mercy seat, is alive to feel it. The sedile turned an execution into a duration event. It forced the victim to sit in their own waste, dehydrating, baking in the sun, freezing in the cold night, hallucinating from pain, but unable to die. Eventually, the Romans would decide the show was over. Maybe a holiday was coming up. Maybe they just needed the wood for the next guy. So they ordered the crucifragium. This is the breaking of the legs. A soldier would take a heavy iron mallet or a club and smash the shins of the victim, shattering the tibia and fibula. In the context of crucifixion, this was actually considered an act of mercy. Why? Think back to the mechanics of breathing. To breathe, you have to push up with your legs. If your legs are shattered, you can no longer push up. Once the legs are broken, the body slumps. The full weight hangs on the wrists. The rib cage locks. The victim struggles for air, but the mechanics are broken. Within minutes, carbon dioxide toxicity puts them to sleep. And then, finally, the heart stops.
But for one famous historical figure, Jesus of Nazareth, the history books say the soldiers didn't break his legs. Why? Because when they got to him, he was already dead. And modern medicine gives us a clue as to why he might have died faster than the others. It's called pericardial effusion. The immense stress, the hypovolemic shock, and the physical trauma likely caused fluid to build up around the heart. When a soldier pierced his side with a spear to check if he was dead, the text says blood and water flowed out. Medically, that suggests heart failure. His heart literally ruptured from the strain. We look back at the Romans and we see civilization. We see marble statues and philosophy. But we must never forget that the same civilization that gave us central heating and concrete also spent centuries perfecting the art of a slow death. Crucifixion was designed to be the ultimate deterrent. It was designed to say, do not cross Rome or you will not just die, you will cease to be human long before your heart stops beating. It is a punishment so horrific that we derived a word from it, the word excruciating, ex cruce, out of the cross. The next time you see that symbol on a necklace or a building or in a movie, remember the engineering behind it. Remember the breathing. Remember the time. If you made it to the end of this video, you have a stomach of steel. We cover the darkest parts of history here, the stuff the textbooks leave out. If you want to understand the machinery of the past, hit that subscribe button. And tell me in the comments, what is the one historical fact that genuinely keeps you up at night?